I think that I should dig a bit deeper into the idea of creating something of mine, something truly original, a setting filled with various creations of my mind. And as I see it, it is a two-step process. The first step being the imagination part, and there the method being truly going wild, just unleashing. And then the second step, the one that is much harder, much more difficult, the brain part, making it make sense, but not according to our standards of my real world, but within the setting in a way that complements and correlates with other events, characters, objects of that world so that it fits there, or it should not matter if it is or it is not realistic here on our planet Earth, as long as it is properly explained within the setting itself. So, in this particular scenario, phrases such as that is not how humans work have little to no power, but if based on previously established facts, the sentence changes and it goes as humans of a certain region within that setting do not work that way, then we, and by that I mean me, the author, have a problem, one that I need to approach. There either needs to be a very good reason for a change in behavior or even physiology, capabilities, and so on, directly related to that other idea of mine that characters make the rules themselves, or I am just incapable when it comes to writing and need to fix those inconsistencies. Otherwise, my story falls apart. And unless I am able to portray that rule breaking in a way that will not make me cringe internally, it is in absolute majority of cases just plain incompetence on my part, and thus something that needs fixing and needs me to stay alert, to be careful, to not fall into a false sense of security to an extent, thinking that, oh well, it can be explained in my head if I do not think about it too hard, and so it is fine since it's a fantasy setting and it doesn't need to make sense. That is just an excuse. And unless I am able to incorporate these new twists into the story, they are just mistakes, and I should not be placating myself with some pseudo intellectual dribble masquerading my inability to keep the continuity of my own story intact, convincing myself that everything is going according to a plan, that it is just the characters and the world having a mind of their own that just smells like a recipe for a huge disaster, and not a story that I would like to write, which is my, well, one of the major goals of me even attempting to write anything. And ultimately, it all comes to what am I able to actually explain in a way that I would find satisfactory. Now, for some Mr. Fogler's story, the rapid arrows are hanging outside near a railway station and are witnesses to a moment of carelessness on part of a a lady, presumably an older one, who is asking for directions, and while looking away, a thieving magpie stretches its claw towards that poor old lady's suitcase, and before she even turns around, it is gone. According to her, with all her documentations, money, and other rather important things to her, unfortunately not much the passers-by can do other than explain to her that it is a common occurrence in the area in front of this particular railway station, and well, a strong advice to properly guard one's property. The boys of the club, standing a bit further away, elaborate on that, with Mirek stating that everyone knows that various belongings tend to disappear in front of this North Railway Station, but no one ever sees anyone actually committing the crime, with Speedy imagining the sensation that it would be, the amount of glory and fame they would receive if they were the ones to catch the culprits of these pillaging activities, and on their way back, either home or to their club room, Yarka has an idea to create a sort of a decoy from an old suitcase filled with garbage, simply to make it heavy, and then situate himself in front of that railway station. When questioned about his intentions, he explains that he is going to intentionally not pay attention to his suitcase, with the rest of the club standing by, waiting for the thieves to notice their seemingly clueless prey, and then just spring the trap and hopefully catch them red-handed. And so the rest of the club agrees to participate in this hunt. Back home, Yarka is asking his mother if he can borrow this old suitcase for what he calls club-related business. His mom being a bit perplexed and astonished by the variety of activities their club engages in, but considering the spotless track record, she concedes and allows him to borrow it, and so he brings it to the club room. Everyone else brings some sort of useless objects to fill it with. Speedy almost feeling sympathetic towards the potential robbers if they were to successfully score this particular catch. When everything is ready, it is time to head outside and hope for the best, with Yarka being by himself, further away from the rest of the group. They are doing their very best to distance themselves, to not give the evildoers even a hint of being associated with Yarka, to avoid spooking them, forcing the scoundrels to abort their robbery prematurely. And so Yarka is standing there, presumably waiting for a tram, looking around, maybe posing as a tourist or simply just a visitor to the biggest city. The suitcase is behind him, painting a huge target on it. We see Indra carefully monitoring the situation from slightly afar, and we also see two men, one grabbing the other by the shoulder, hinting in the direction of Yarka. He gets a chuckled answer in return, The other person, with a cigarette in his mouth, affirms that he can see that, and they move in on Yarka, circling him from both sides. One positions himself in between Yarka and the suitcase, while the other one bends over, nonchalant, but his intentions are clear to careful observers, which there are five of. Even Yarka is checking the situation from the corner of his eye, and the moment the suitcase is in the man's hand, he turns around and starts screaming that it is his, and from the other side we can see the rest of the club rushing over, ready to intercept these criminals and hopefully, quote unquote, help them face justice and repent. Well, this is where I'm going to stop. It's really late. I feel even more brain dead than usually, and next time, more of the same.